Hi guys, and it's time for my December reading wrap up. I can't believe how quickly December went by, and I know I say that every month, but December really seemed to go by quickly. I don't know if that was because I was doing Vlogmas, that just seemed to speed everything up, I don't know. But the whole of 2015 went by really quickly. So yeah, it's time for my wrap up for December. The weather today is absolutely atrocious. From the moment I have woken up till now, it has been pouring down with rain, it's been dark, it's been miserable. The lighting in my room wasn't fantastic, so I've come down to my living room to hope that the lighting is a little bit better. So here we go. I read 9 books in December, and I thought I would read more Christmassy reads than what I actually did. I never have a TBR, but I thought, this is the time of year when I'm just going to read like every single Christmas book that I've not read yet, because it's the time to read them. And the ones that I thought I would read, I didn't read. I ended up reading a completely different selection of books than what I had planned. So the first book that I read in December was Across the Moon-Swept Moor by Julie Moffat, and this is the sequel to Double-Edged Blade, which I read, I think it was in October, that I absolutely love, and I had no idea there was sort of a follow-up novel, but the author actually told me that there was a follow-up novel. She asked me if I had read it, and I said, no, I haven't, so I had to track down a copy. I really enjoyed this one. It's a historical time travel romance, and I didn't enjoy it as much as Double-Edged Blade, but I still really enjoyed it. It follows, in the first book there's a character called Faith, and this book follows her cousin Fiona, and Fiona actually travels back in time to the same time that Faith travelled back in, and she gets her own story. It was good. I didn't enjoy it as much as Double-Edged Blade, and I gave it 4 out of 5. Then I read Care First Love Volume 1. This is a manga story, and it's a really cute manga. I'm not a huge manga or graphic novel reader, as you guys know, but I had this one sitting on my shelf, and I was looking at my shelf thinking, should I get rid of it? Am I likely to reread it? I read this for the first time in like 2007, 2008, really long time ago. So I was like, should I read it? Should I not read it? And I thought, well, you know what? Let me try and reread it, see what I think of it. And if I like it, I'll keep it and maybe carry on with the series. And if not, I'll just give it to someone else. And I ended up really enjoying it. I think maybe it's a little young for me now. It's very cute, very cheesy, very melodrama, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I gave it another read. So I ended up giving it 4 out of 5. Really enjoyed it, and it's such a quick read. Because I enjoyed it, I did actually end up picking up the second volume, which I haven't even hauled yet, I don't think, and it's Care First Love Volume 2. Again, very cute, very fluffy, very quick read. I picked these up when I really just didn't know what else to read, when I didn't know what I fancied reading, and they're definitely really good gap fillers for when you don't know what you want to read. And I think I ended up giving this the same as the first volume. Let me just check. I know, I docked it 0.5, so it's 3.5 out of 5. But I still really enjoyed it, and they're just cute to read. There was another manga on my shelf, same situation with Care First Love, that I had read back in 2007, 2008 when I was still at school, because I had 2 friends that were massively into manga and anime, and they sort of said, oh, you need to read these. So I read those, and then I never carried on. And the other one was Happy Hustle High, and this one is more of a comic read. It's really funny, and I loved rereading this, rediscovering this, and I think that this again is another one that I will continue to read, because it was just so funny. And if you do enjoy sort of funny mangas, I think this is obviously quite old now, but it was really funny, and I was really happy to rediscover this, and I gave that one 4 out of 5 as well. I'll do all the Kindle reads that I read last all in one go. So the next book that I read was a reread for me, and that's Heart on a Chain by Cindy C. Bennett. I get to a certain time and I always sort of feel like rereading this because it's one of my all-time favourite books. It's an absolutely fantastic sort of young adult novel. And if you haven't read it, you really should. I must have reread this about 5 or 6 times now, like properly. And then there'll be times when I pick it up and just read sections from it instead of reading the whole thing. It's an absolutely amazing. The cover isn't the best, but the book itself is amazing. It's about a girl called Kate, and she's in high school, and she for a long time has been the subject of everybody's cruel jokes and taunts, and she's basically everybody's favourite victim. Basically the whole school is against her, and it's all because of the workings of this one girl. She basically turned the whole school against her, but she's also having a horrible home life. Her mother is very abusive towards her, both physically and mentally. And then one day Henry moves back to town. Henry was Kate's best friend when they were younger, and then one Valentine's Day they exchanged Valentine's cards, and it was moving in another direction, but then he moved away. And then it's a story of him coming back, and there is sort of a section of this book where it's set over Christmas. She spends Christmas with his family. So I squeezed it in that way. I could say it was a Christmas read. But this book is phenomenal. If you haven't read it, please do, because it's one of my absolute favourites. And if you do read it, let me know what you think of it, because I always feel like I'm pumping this book out to people, because it is definitely one of my favourites, and I think it's a very underappreciated book. Highly recommend that one. And obviously it gets 5 out of 5 stars every time I read it. The last physical book that I read was one I picked up in December when I went to a different branch with work. I explored like the little town that I was in briefly in my lunch break, and they had a discount bookstore, and this was there. And it's Starry Night by Debbie Macomber. This is an author I see pop up every now and then, but I've never actually read before. And it was a short book. I've still got my bookmark in there. It's a short book, and it looked very Christmassy, and it was in an offer with some other books that I was buying. So I picked it up. It was a very short, quick read that was really, really good for the Christmas period. It was cute. It was funny. It reminded me a little bit of Nora Roberts, that's why I picked it up. And it is a little bit like that, sort of a contemporary, cute romance, adult romance. But while I enjoyed it and the story was really good, and I love the sort of banter between the characters, I felt no chemistry between the two sort of romantic interests. I found that it was kind of maybe forced, that I didn't feel the supposed chemistry and attraction between each other, and there's no real sort of sexy times in this book. And I don't mean that I need a book to have sex or, you know, things like that, but there was no sort of physical manifestation of this so-called attraction. Like, there was just no burn there, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying that a book has to have sex, because it doesn't. Like, a lot of YA books that I've read, like say Crash Into You or Pushing the Limits, they don't have sex in them, but they have sort of that, like, that sex appeal. There's like, you can see that the characters are like drawn to each other, that there is something there, and I don't feel this book had that. I don't know if all her books are like that, where they're just sort of light in that area. I don't know. It makes it sound like I want to read erotica, which I don't. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just that there's just no sizzle there, and that was kind of what disappointed me with this one. I ended up giving it like 3 out of 5, because the actual story and that was really cute, and I loved the sort of characters in it. I just wish there was a little bit more between them than what there was. Is guess what I'm trying to say. The books that I read on my Kindle, I read one more Christmassy book. I really am surprised I didn't read more, but every time I went to sort of pick one of the books that I had in mind, I wasn't really drawn to it. So I read one on my Kindle, and that's His Housekeeper's Christmas Wish by Louise Allen. And this is a Regency historical romance, which you guys know I love. Really enjoyed this one. It was a really, really quick read. If you like your Regency romance, I would recommend picking it up. It was a great one to read over Christmas, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5. Now that I'm remembering it though, I think it's closer to a 4. But I did really, really enjoy it, and it was definitely a good one to read over Christmas. I really enjoyed reading it. And then I was part of the blog tour for Sweet Soul by Tilly Cole. If you followed my Vlogmas, you'll know that I was obsessed with this book when I was reading it. Absolutely obsessed. It's the 4th book in the Sweet Home series, but the 3rd book in the Carrillo Boys series. It's very confusing. But it was absolutely amazing. I absolutely loved it. It's a phenomenal new adult book. If you haven't read it, you really should. It is part of a series. I read Sweet Home, which is the first book in the series, earlier on in 2015. I can't quite remember when, and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't love it as much as Tilly Cole's other books that I'd read. I really enjoyed it, but I had a few pet peeves with it. But I was part of the tour for this one. Absolutely loved it. 5 out of 5 star read. Phenomenal. I just felt the characters were very different to any other characters that I had read before. I felt like they were very real. They felt very real, very believable, and their whole story felt believable. And it's hard to explain, but I've read a lot of books now where sort of the romantic interests are sort of opposites, if you know what I mean, like a little bit cliche. It makes it sound like I don't like them. Obviously I do, but what I mean is like the jock falling in love with the geek, you know, the popular guy falling in love with the unpopular girl. You know what I mean? Like, it's become a trope. What I liked about this book is that they weren't complete opposites. They maybe came from, they kind of have the same background, then things changed for them, but their overall stories are very similar, and I liked that they bonded over that, and it just felt like a very real, very believable story, and I absolutely loved it. 5 out of 5. I read the 4th book after only reading the 1st book, and I think that you can do that, but I would maybe go in order. I have since gone back and I've read the 2nd book, which is Sweet Fall, and it follows the guy's character, basically they're brothers. And this one was also fantastic, absolutely fantastic. This was another 5 out of 5 star read for me. I think Sweet Soul, though, just beats it. I think that one is, if I could give 6 out of 5 stars to Sweet Soul, that's what I would do. But Sweet Fall was equally amazing. Just a series that you should really check out. If you don't enjoy the 1st book so much, keep with it, because I didn't love the 1st book as much in this series. But I can't speak. But books 2, and I have now actually read book 3, but I didn't read it in December. Book 2, 3, and 4 completely make up for it. Keep with that series, guys. It's an absolute must. So yeah, that's everything that I read in December. I did really think I'd get more Christmassy reads put away, but it just didn't happen, unfortunately. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of these books, if these books are on your TBR. Also, what your favourite book in December was. I hope you all had a really good December, a really good Christmas, and I'll see you all soon. Happy reading, guys.